Welcome back to the program. We are not giving up. We are just getting started in this battle for the SAVE Act, the Save America Act. President Trump has said point blank, no other business goes through the Senate or anything else until this is passed. The grassroots is activated. We are motivated and we are pushing hard. Okay? That's the first thing I want to say. Now, the second thing is this. We have now heard that there's at least 50, that's right, 50 Republican House members that have sworn absolutely no business whatsoever at all until the Senate passes the Save America Act for election integrity. That means that there are many people in the House that will bring the House of Representatives to a grinding halt, okay? A grinding halt. No business will be done until this is done. And God bless representatives like Anna Paulina Luna and Brandon Gills and so many others, Andy Biggs, many others, Paul Gosar. There's about 50 of them that said, Senate, you're not going to continue to function as normal, okay? Now remember, the Senate has numerous things that they want to get accomplished, including, by the way, opening up DHS through funding and everything else. Well, there's another nugget out there that no one's talking about, and that is the FISA Act. In other words, they want to redo the FISA Act. Now, I've told you numerous times I am against the FISA Act. In my book, Preserving Liberty, I even wrote something called, I think it was RIFA, Rein in FISA Act, in which I explain that we need to either get rid of it altogether, but if we can't, at least let it go through an advise and consent of a Senate confirmation process. Well, they are now wanting, because of the Iranian war, because of the threats, the terrorist threats that we're seeing in our homeland and everything else, they want to get the FISA reenacted again or reconfirmed again through another bill. Well, the Senate wants that. And the House is saying, SAVE Act first. So this is putting extra pressure on the Senate to do their job. All right, so I wanted to kind of point that out. Now, here is the great Senator Mike Lee from Utah giving us all an update. There is progress on the Save America Act. Are we at the finish line? No, we're not, unfortunately. But are we moving in the right direction? Is the grassroots pressure working? It absolutely is. Listen to Mike Lee.
Okay, important update on the Save America Act and the effort to get it passed. Look, I am guardedly optimistic. We've turned kind of a corner. Over the last few days, there's been some uncertainty about exactly what procedure we will be and will not be using. In the end,
It keeps buffering for some reason. Hang on.
we've been working closely with Leader Thune and his staff, and they've been great to work with. What we're coming up with is something that I think is best described as a hybrid version of the talking filibuster. But look, let's not get mired down in nomenclature. What matters far more than what we call it is what we do with it. We're going to bring it to the floor. We're going to debate it for an extended period of time before filing cloture. And in my view, at least, I don't want to speak for anyone else, this bill needs to remain on the Senate floor before we file cloture on the bill for as long as it takes to get it done. Now, the fact that Leader Thune and his office have been willing to work with us on this, and they appear open to a variation of that, is a good thing. So let's keep up the momentum. Let's encourage them to continue to do this. Let's put the bill on the floor. Let's make those who want to filibuster speak and keep it on there as long as possible. Thanks so much.
So I don't really know what to make of that. The only thing I can say is one of the issues that these lazy ass Senate Republicans and Democrats and whatever is that they like the new way, not the old way of doing things, right? The old way of doing things is it's a 51 vote majority. You stand up there, you talk and talk and talk, you do charts, you say why you're against the bill, blah, 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 and you do it for hours and hours and hours, a la Corey Bathhouse Bathroom Booker. We may remember during the One Big Beautiful Bill, what did he do? He was the only one actually that did it. There was nobody else doing it. And he sat there and he talked and he talked and he talked and he talked and he talked. And there's like 25, 26 hours. Finally, when he stopped talking, guess what? They voted and they passed the One Big Beautiful Bill. So this might be something similar to that. But what I'm kind of understanding here is the laziness in the Senate and the laziness in the Republicans in the Senate. They don't want to harm their colleagues on the other side of the aisle, right? So in other words, they know that they're all geriatric. They know that they're all octogenarians or whatever, and they don't want them to have to stand for all these hours to be able to do this. So what I'm understanding here when he says a, quote, hybrid version of the old style filibuster, from what it sounds like to me, is they won't be doing a standing talking filibuster, but rather just a talking filibuster. So one of the things that Thune was saying is, well, we don't know what to do. We've never done this before. We don't know the logistics of this. We're not sure how it's all going to work out. We don't know how it's going to be and the planning and blah, 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 blah. Bottom line is, in the old days, they stood up and they talked. But now they don't do that because they're all old. They're all in walkers. They got canes and everything else. And so they don't. So the Republicans feel bad for their Senate counterparts on the other side of the aisle, and they don't want them to have to, quote, stand. Okay? So I think you're going to have some type of a hybrid action where they're more than likely going to be allowed to sit and talk. Now, why is this not nearly as good? Because once they stop, because they can talk and talk and talk and talk and talk because they're sitting, they're not standing, right? And so if they're standing and talking, they're going to get tired more. And the next thing you know, they're going to pass out, fall down, whatever, and then we vote. Well, this is going to take a hell of a lot of a longer time if they're allowed to sit and talk rather than stand and talk. So that's kind of what I'm gathering here. So that's what the hybrid is all about. Now, the next question, form of a talking filibuster, is now set to be implemented. Yeah. So they want to go away from standing, right? Because they're all old and geriatric and they got canes and who knows what else. Half of them have dementia. And this is what you get when you don't have term limits, but that's a story for another day. And so that's what I'm thinking that is going to happen here. Now, when is this going to happen? I don't know. Because obviously, as they said, they're doing a show vote first. So they think that the show vote is going to make everybody be quiet and everyone's going to say, go back to your business. We're not doing this. We're not doing the SAVE Act. No, that's just going to embolden us more because now we actually got a vote. Whether it passes or fails doesn't matter. This time it's going to fail. But now it goes to show you that we're moving along another rung of the ladder, right? So this is how we're going to have to do it. We have to take these old bastards and grab them by the throat and drag their asses over the finish line in order for us to get election integrity. How fucking pathetic is that? It is. But it's the system that we have. And if we don't put the pressure on these geriatric idiots, nobody else will. The left is already lying, saying that it's a poll tax, that, married women won't be able to get IDs, all this other bullshit, right? That's what they're saying. So we better be on our game, okay? Do not relent. Do not sit back. Be civically active. Share documents. Share things on social media. Anything you see pertaining to the SAVE Act, hit the share button and post it everywhere. Okay? We've got to make sure that the pressure is on these geriatric idiots. Okay? Because if it's not, and we back off, you think they're going to pass it? No, they're not. So damn it, we've got to be on their ass. Okay? We've got to be on their ass hardcore. And like I said, I will get this done. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be next week. It's not going to be the week after that. But it should be sometime in the next month to 2 months. But we've got to get it done. And we got to get it done before the midterms, because I'm telling you right now, the way things are, they're already going to cheat. Their newest thing that they're planning on doing is using AI to cheat. So now what they're going to do is they're going to show pictures of Republican candidates running for office with like a picture of them with like little kids, right? It could be a nice, innocent, sweet image, but yet there's some type of deviance to it, right? This is the new AI election fraud interference thing that's going to be happening. So make sure that you use Grok, you use some of these other things and ask, is this image real? Because I'm telling you right now, the closer we get to these midterms, that's the type of shit we're going to see from these sick bastards on the left. They're already showing a picture of President Trump with Jeffrey Epstein and a whole bunch of little girls sitting all around. Well, it turns out that it was Kai's kindergarten class picture. Kai is literally a child in it. You can see her face, okay? But it doesn't matter because it's the shock value. Oh, look at these sickos. Look what Trump is doing. Look, he's in the Epstein files. Look at this. He's close with that. This is the sick shit they're going to do, all right? I'm telling you right now. I know for a fact. So we've got to get this thing done. We've got to get this thing done, because if we don't, they are going to cheat like you cannot believe. And even if President Trump issues an executive order to try to do what we're doing with the SAVE Act, if you don't think these Boasberg dipshits and the rest of these idiot judges aren't going to try to stall something like that and file immediate lawsuits that we'll have to appeal and eventually go to the Supreme Court, but then all of a sudden it's too close to the election, so the Supreme Court says, no, we're going to punt, we're not going to get involved. This is the type of shit that happens, folks. Okay, you don't need a crystal ball to figure this stuff out. You just got to be paying attention all these years. So continue to fight. Do not take no for an answer. The SAVE Act will save America, and it must pass. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Put them down in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one.